Our commencement speaker, Brian Foisy, is the Vice President for Finance and Administration at the University of Idaho. He provides vision, leadership, and budgetary and administrative oversight for the university. Working almost always behind the scenes, he helps provide essential financial and administrative support to ensure that the university delivers outstanding educational opportunities, conducts research and scholarship with impact, and connects with communities across the state of Idaho and beyond. Vice President Foisy joined our university in 2015. With 20 years of experience in higher education and a bachelor's and master's of accountancy degree, he is driven by a passionate belief in the potential of each and every student, as well as the importance of higher education for individual success and societal progress. And I'll take personal privilege to say that I selected Brian for this job when last spring he came to me and apologized for missing spring commencement. And I said, "That's not that big a deal, Brian." He said, No, it's a huge deal to me. This matters to me. And so I said, "Well, it's not exactly penance, but I want you to give the commencement speech." So he will give the speech today. And parents, those of you out here, I'll tell you one other little tidbit. That is that Brian's parents are here with him today, and there are probably only two parents in the audience who came primarily to hear the commencement speech. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our 2018 winter commencement speaker, Brian Foisy.
Well, I'm glad to know at least two people showed up to hear me speak. Good afternoon. I want to extend a personal welcome to our honored guests, members of the stage party, faculty and staff, family and friends, but most of all to you, the graduates, all 578 of you. I hope when you leave here today, you believe that the University of Idaho has changed and shaped and influenced you. But more importantly, I want you to know that you have changed and shaped and influenced us. You are the lightning in the bottle. So it is truly an honor for me to be here today to help celebrate your accomplishments. If I can take just a moment of personal privilege, though, before I do that, I'm not sure how many of you know that just last night, the Dome was the home to a Christmas concert that involved about 1,000 elementary school, middle school, high school, and University of Idaho students, and about 3,000 guests in attendance, 4,000 people in the Dome, and they were seated just right behind us. That event ended, I would say, by the time everybody left, was probably over by about 10 p.m. And our committed Dome setup crew was here till about 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning to convert that into this. So I know it's kind of a selfish thing to ask, but if you could just please join with me in thanking that Dome setup crew for creating what we have today. So I want to start on a very important note here and say that 21 years ago, almost to the day, I was a winter semester graduate myself. And I still remember that day. In fact, I remember the very first thought that crossed my head when I opened my eyes that morning and my head popped off the pillow. And that thought was, no more homework again, ever. So I assume that will be true for most of you, so savor the moment, my friends. This is one of those interesting and almost ironic moments of perspective, because on the one hand, we're here today to celebrate what is arguably the single largest personal investment most of you will ever make. You've invested your time, 4, 5, 6 years, maybe more. You've invested your money as the Vice President of Finance. I know that you have invested literally tens of thousands of dollars. You, or in many cases your families, have invested money. For any of you who are scholarship recipients, donors, or benefactors have invested money in you. You are all graduates of a public university, meaning the citizens of the state of Idaho have invested money in you. I want you to understand how much they've invested in you. Almost $100 million every year is invested by the state of Idaho, the citizens, the taxpayers of this state, in your education. So Idaho is invested in you. And if any of you received a Pell Grant, an SEOG grant, or a work-study award, the federal government has even invested money in you. So here's the ironic part. On the very day that we gather to celebrate this massive personal investment, again, arguably the largest investment that many of you will ever make, it's my job today to tell you that your degree alone will not be enough. If your goal is to be great, as President Staben indicated, an obligation to be great, if your goal is to change the world, your degree is a critical piece of the puzzle, but alone a degree is not enough. Let me see if I can give you a very practical example of what I mean by this. How many in the room are graduating with a degree in accounting? Bachelor's degree, master's degree? Okay, here are my grads. I'm going to refer only to this group of people because that's what I know, but I assure you that this is representative of the challenge that we all face when we interview for jobs. So I'll speak specifically to the accounting graduates. As you go out and apply for your next job as an auditor, I want you to ask yourself how many of the finalists for that position, and I'm sure you all will be finalists because you're U of I grads, but how many of the other finalists for that position will also have the required bachelor's or master's degree in accounting or finance or business? How many of your competitors will have essentially the same qualifying characteristic as you? I believe the answer is all of them, every single one of them, just like you. So how then will your employer decide who he or she should hire? So you see, there's more to the story. So what I would like to do with you is share a little bit about that. Some employers call it fit. Some employers call it likability. But whatever they call it, I want to share three things. I was told that the group will only remember three things. So I'll share three things that I believe will make a difference in your career and throughout your life. And I'm going to refer to these as accessories that you need to go along with your degree. They don't replace your degree. Let me be clear. They don't replace your degree. They will be accessories that go along with your degree. So let's start with must-have accessory number one. And I want to tell you a story to describe this must-have accessory number one. Happened to me personally about a year ago. I was sitting in my office minding my own business when the phone rang. It was President Staben. I've since learned that I should always pretend to be not in the office when the phone rings and it's Chuck, because you end up here. But in this particular case, Chuck was calling to ask if I would be interested in accompanying him on a trip to Chubbuck, Idaho, to visit with the leadership of Idaho Central Credit Union to see if they would be interested in supporting our new basketball arena. Fortunately, they were, by the way. They gave us $10 million, and we'll be building a new arena soon. But I was excited to make the trip, although I do have to say I didn't have the slightest idea why I was being invited to participate. I'm not a fundraiser. I really know nothing about fundraising. I knew very little about Idaho Central Credit Union, except that it was a financial institution. And I, to be honest with you, didn't even know there was such a place as Chubbuck, Idaho. So I'm not a native Idahoan, so I wasn't really quite sure why I was being invited to attend, but I was sort of left to myself to figure that out. I ultimately concluded that it was for one of two reasons. The charter flight was going to occur in one of these very small prop planes in which balance is very important. So I figured on the one hand, there were three other people going. I would be the fourth. That would mean I was being invited for ballast. Or number two, which was much more appealing to me, that I was being invited as eye candy. Whatever the reason, November 10th of 2017 arrived, and I found myself on the charter flight to Chubbuck, and as I had dreaded, the flight was about the plane was about the size of an empty beer can. And I'll note that they did ask me my weight before I got on the plane, which assured me that I had in fact been invited as ballast and not as eye candy. We arrived at ICCU corporate headquarters shortly thereafter, were greeted by a kind and helpful employee, and literally within moments we were seated in a conference and speaking with both the CEO and the Vice President for Marketing. During those comments, the CEO apologized that the Vice President for Human Resources had not been able to join us in that meeting. She was, he explained, in New York, receiving a national award for their talent acquisition practices. And frankly, it was more than I could stand. Human resources is one of the areas within the Division of Finance and Administration, so it's one of the areas I supervise. I thought, whoa, if this company is receiving national recognition for their talent acquisition practices, I have to ask. So I selfishly derailed the entire conversation, and I asked Kent, their CEO, if he would share the secret to their success. And I'll tell you, he literally beamed when he told me that it could be summed up in 6 words. Now, before I tell you those 6 words, I want to tell you a little bit about Idaho Central Credit Union, not because they gave us $10 million and not because I want to do a commercial for them, but I want you to understand what kind of company spoke these 6 words. So let me tell you about them quickly. They've been voted the best place to work in Idaho for the last 6 years. 1 out of every 5 Idahoans is a member of that credit union. They're the #1 auto and mortgage lender in Idaho. They have over $4 billion, that's with a B, $4 billion in assets. This is a fascinating one. There are 5,757 credit unions in the nation, and based on assets, Idaho Central Credit Union is number 51. In Chubbuck, Idaho, number 51. That puts them within the top 1% of credit unions nationwide. They're ranked number 6 in the nation for membership growth and number 4 in the nation for asset growth. This is the kind of company we're talking about. So when I tell you what these 6 words are, understand this is not some fly-by-night operation. This is a company that plays in the big leagues. And the 6 words that sum up their talent acquisition practice: hire the smile, train the skill. That's it. The entire corporate hiring philosophy is based on a smile. And while it took only a moment for that to occur, it was a transformational experience for me. No matter how you measure it, that is a company that's taking their industry by storm. And if you want to work for one of those companies, not just ICCU, but one of those transformational companies, what's the most important thing they believe you can bring to the table? The most important, the single most important thing you can bring to the table? It's your smile. ICCU knows, as do most employers, that if you're lacking some technical skill, they can send you to a class, they can send you to a conference, they can send you to a college or university, and you can develop that skill. As human beings, we're masters at skills transference. We've been doing this since the Stone Age. If you don't know how to read, if you don't know how to speak Spanish, if you don't know how to change a flat tire, if you don't know how to remove an appendix, give us enough time and we can teach you how to do that. But if you don't have a smile on your face, if you don't have a smile in your heart, there's no class, there's no conference, and there's no degree. It has to be inside of you. And I promise you that your employer knows and values the smile that'll be on your face. Never underestimate the importance of a smile. I promise you that you can walk into a room to discuss the gravest of topics, and one single smile flashed in the right moment, a sincere smile, can change the entire environment around you. So don't forget, must-have accessory number 1 to go along with your new degree is a smile. For must-have accessory number 2, I want to turn to the video boards here, and I'm going to ask our AV folks to show a short video clip about an event that occurred at a grocery store. The grocery store chain is called Publix, P-U-B-L-I-X. This happened in Orlando, Florida. It takes about a minute and a half to watch the video, so if you can turn your attention to the boards, I'll ask our team to play the video for us.
An act of kindness captured in a photograph in a local grocery store aisle has gone viral on the web.
A shopper at an Ormond Beach Publix saw an employee tying an elderly man's shoes and was moved to take the picture. And as West 2's Claire Metz reports, lots of others were inspired by the photo, too.
Keith Keel was shopping at this Publix in Ormond Town Square last Saturday. When he saw the young employee helping out the senior and thought it was so sweet, he took a picture to share with his Facebook friends.
And I see this young kid on his knee, and then he's tying a shoe.
Keith Keel says there's not enough goodness in this world. So when he saw a Publix employee bend down to tie an elderly man's shoe, he snapped this photo, posted it to Facebook, and it blew up. More than 200,000 likes and spreading through other media.
A lot of people would have done that, but he did it with a big smile, and he tied the other one without being asked. It was just amazing.
Like, I just seen him struggling, and he just said, would you tie my shoe for me?
This is the amazing but rather humble 20-year-old Publix clerk whose gesture has sparked such a positive reaction. Gage Bauscher.
People do this stuff every day, and it just so happens that I get recognized for it. People do way bigger stuff.
But this small favor was a big thing in others' eyes. Keith went back to the store to have his picture taken with Gage. Gage said the senior asked him to help tie one shoe, but Gage laced up both.
And I seen them both, and I just tied them for him. And he tried to give me money, and I said, no, thank you, I can't accept this.
Gage has accepted, however, that even the smallest action can become larger than life. Our employee got a lot of recognition and a free pub sub for his kindness. A little embarrassed by the first, but he dug right into that sandwich. In Ormond Beach, Volusia County, Claire Metz, West 2 News.
All of that because Gage tied someone's shoes. 200,000 people were impacted by that simple act. And the best part about that act, it wasn't hard, it didn't take a long time, and it cost nothing. Yet that single act touched the hearts of 200,000 people, and that doesn't even count the number of people who watched the news broadcast in Orlando, Florida. 200,000 people. Let me just put that in perspective for you. That's the entire population of Boise, Idaho. Cared about a single act of kindness, tying a shoe. It's not difficult to do, but it makes a difference. In fact, the founder of Publix is a man named George Jenkins, who said, Publix will be a little better place, or not quite as good, because of you. In my opinion, without a doubt, Publix is a better place because of Gage, and the world can be a little better place because of you. Sometimes I think we tolerate the mistaken impression that the real world is cold and cruel and cutthroat, like an episode of The Apprentice. That all that matters in the real world is competence and skill and survival of the fittest. That people don't care about kindness and compassion in the real world. I promise you that is not the case. And if it happens to feel that way in your particular corner of the world, then please, as vandals, be the one to change that. Because contrary to the Shark Tank philosophy, it really is possible for success and kindness to go hand in hand. And speaking about the great musician Louis Armstrong, Duke Ellington said, he was born poor, he died rich, and he never hurt anyone along the way. So never underestimate the power and importance of kindness, and never forget, my friends, that the world turns based on small acts of kindness performed by quiet and unpretentious people. Must-have accessory number 2 to go along with your degree is kindness. Now, before I leave must-have accessory number 2, I'd like to turn your attention back to the video board and ask the AV team if they could roll that video back to timestamp 36. And I want to take an opportunity to provide you with one quick piece of career advice based on this image. So focus carefully here. If you ever have the opportunity to be interviewed by the local television station, especially if they call you in advance and tell you they're coming, if you remember nothing else from today, please remember this one thing: vandals wear shoes. And finally, my friends, we've reached must-have accessory number 3. And to explain this, I'll share an email that I received just last week, actually, from a colleague here at the University of Idaho. She had applied for a job, and she was writing to provide me with an update. And something she shared struck me as extremely important, especially as you consider taking your degree and going out into the world and making a difference. She writes, "I hope you are doing well. I just wanted to share that I had my big day today. I literally just finished my dinner with the chair of the search committee, and I'm wiped. Wow, what a day I have had." And here it is. "But I left my heart in every meeting." If I knew nothing else about this person, that last statement would have been enough. She left her heart in every meeting. Vandals, your heart is the best thing you have to offer to the world. It is also the one thing you can give to everyone you know and everything you do, and never run out. If your heart is in your work, it will be driven by a passion and a motivation that will allow you to move mountains. Mother Teresa said, "It is not how much we do, but how much love we put in the doing. It is not how much we give, but how much love is put in the giving." You know, I've been here about 3.5 years, so I'm not a vandal, at least not a native-born vandal, but sort of been adopted maybe into the vandal family, and I finally figured out what it is. I finally figured out what it is about you guys. Vandals have heart. That, more than anything else, is what makes this place special. So must-have accessory number 3 is heart. So treasure your degree and leverage your investment. It will serve you well, but remember these 3 things. Smile along the way, spread kindness wherever you go, and share your heart freely with others. Please show the world what it means to be a vandal by the way you treat others. They will be better for it, you will be better for it, and the world will be better for it. So go forth and do good, my friends, and go Vandals.
Stay up here for a second. Well, thanks, Brian. Now I think you see why it's such a privilege to work with Brian each day. And I invite you to read more about him in the commencement program. And Brian, I wanted to give you a little gift, just a token of our appreciation. Whoops. Thanks very much.